What if history isn't what we thought? New genetic research on Ashkenazi Jews has revealed shocking evidence that could change everything. For centuries, their origins have been linked to Israel. But what if there's more to the story? Scientists have uncovered deep connections that challenge long-held beliefs. Could this discovery rewrite Jewish history? Stay with us as we explore the truth, because this evidence goes deeper than you can imagine. Watch till the end to uncover the full mystery. For centuries, the Ashkenazi Jews have been a people of mystery, resilience, and survival. Their story, woven into the fabric of history, has often been traced back to the ancient land of Israel, a place where their ancestors walked, prayed, and built their identity. But how did a people so deeply connected to the Middle East find themselves scattered across Europe, forging a new legacy in lands far from their origins? To understand the journey of the Ashkenazi Jews, we must step back thousands of years. Israel was their home, the heart of their faith, and the center of their civilization. From the time of the ancient Hebrew kingdoms, their identity was deeply tied to this sacred land. But history is rarely kind, and the Jewish people faced centuries of invasions, exiles, and forced migrations that would alter their destiny forever. One of the earliest and most defining events in Jewish history was the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE by the Romans. This catastrophic event shattered the Jewish state, forcing countless Jews to flee their homeland. Many sought refuge in neighboring regions, North Africa, Persia, and Arabia, while others traveled further into Europe, seeking safety in an uncertain world. Yet, despite the distance from Israel, they carried their traditions, faith, and language with them, refusing to let go of their identity. By the early Middle Ages, a distinct Jewish community had emerged in Europe. They became known as the Ashkenazi Jews, named after the biblical figure Ashkenaz, who was thought to have settled in what is now Germany and France. But where exactly did they come from? Were they the direct descendants of the Israelites, or was their story more complex? For centuries, historians and scholars believed the Ashkenazi Jews were primarily Israelites who had migrated from the land of Israel through the Roman Empire into Europe. It was a story of survival, of a people clinging to their heritage despite relentless persecution. As they moved through Italy, France, and Germany, they adapted, yet never lost their connection to their ancient homeland. However, not all theories aligned with this narrative. Some historians speculated that the Ashkenazi Jews may have intermarried with local European populations, blending their genetic heritage with new influences. Others suggested that certain groups of converts may have joined the Jewish faith, further shaping the Ashkenazi lineage. But without concrete scientific evidence, these were merely theories, until now. Modern genetic research has taken this historical mystery to an entirely new level. Scientists have begun unraveling the DNA of Ashkenazi Jews, searching for the truth hidden within their genetic code. What they found was shocking. Some results confirmed the deep ancestral connection to Israel, while others hinted at an unexpected twist in the tale of Ashkenazi origins. Could it be that the Ashkenazi Jews are more genetically diverse than previously thought? Did their ancestors originate solely from Israel, or did their journey take a far more complex route? And if so, what does this mean for Jewish history and identity? The answers to these questions are more intriguing than anyone could have imagined. The evidence is not just a footnote in history. It is a revelation that challenges long-held beliefs and forces us to re-examine what we think we know. The Ashkenazi Jews have always been a people of resilience, faith, and endurance. But their story is still being written, their past still being uncovered. Modern science has given us tools far beyond what historians of the past could have imagined. Genetic research, with its ability to trace deep ancestral roots, has become a window into history. When scientists turned their attention to the DNA of Ashkenazi Jews, they found themselves standing at the edge of a revelation. The question that had lingered for centuries, where do the Ashkenazi Jews truly come from, was about to be answered in an unexpected way. At first, the research seemed to confirm what many had long believed. Genetic markers linked Ashkenazi Jews to the Middle East, with strong connections to other Jewish populations, particularly those in Israel. These findings reaffirmed the historical bond between the Jewish people and their ancient homeland, suggesting that their origins indeed lay in Israel. But as scientists dug deeper, unexpected patterns began to emerge, patterns that could challenge everything. One of the most startling discoveries was the presence of significant European ancestry within the Ashkenazi gene pool. While their paternal lineage, traced through the Y chromosome, strongly pointed to Israel, their maternal lineage told a different story. Studies revealed that many Ashkenazi Jews descended from European women, particularly from regions in Italy and the Rhine Valley. This raised an astonishing possibility. Could it be that the Ashkenazi community was formed not only by Jewish men from Israel, but also by local European women who had converted to Judaism centuries ago? This finding sparked intense debate. Some scholars argued that Jewish traders and exiles from Israel had arrived in Europe, married local women who embraced Judaism, and established what would later become the Ashkenazi Jewish community. Others questioned whether these conversions had been voluntary or if historical circumstances, such as persecution, had influenced them. Regardless of the details, one thing was clear. The genetic story of the Ashkenazi Jews was more complex than anyone had previously imagined. Further studies delved into mitochondrial DNA, passed exclusively from mother to child. The results were staggering. Unlike other Jewish populations whose maternal lineages traced back to the Middle East, Ashkenazi mitochondrial DNA showed a significant European origin. Yet despite this, their culture, traditions, and religious practices remained deeply tied to Israel. They had lived in exile, but their hearts, prayers, and identity had never left their homeland. Beyond the European connection, another discovery added even more intrigue: the so-called Khazar hypothesis. This controversial theory suggested that some Ashkenazi Jews might be descended from the Khazars, a medieval Turkic people who supposedly converted to Judaism en masse. While genetic research largely disputes this theory, certain markers suggest minor interactions between Khazars and Jewish populations. The true extent of this influence remains a topic of fierce debate. What does all of this mean for Jewish history? It means that the Ashkenazi Jews are a people shaped by both ancient Israel and the lands of their exile. It means that their story is not one of a single migration, but of centuries of adaptation, survival, and resilience. It also means that their deep-rooted connection to Israel is more than historical. It is genetic, spiritual, and undeniable. These genetic findings have not only rewritten aspects of Jewish history, but have also reignited discussions about Jewish identity. Does DNA determine who is truly Jewish? Or is Jewish identity something more? Something forged by faith, culture, and shared destiny? These questions remain open, but one thing is certain. Science has given us a new lens through which to view history, one that confirms the unbreakable bond between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. As we continue this journey, the revelations only become more fascinating. What implications does this have for biblical history? How do these findings challenge or support the ancient texts that have guided Jewish belief for millennia? The story of the Ashkenazi Jews is not just about the past. It is about the future, about understanding who they are and where they truly belong. Stay with us as we explore these shocking revelations further, because sometimes history isn't what we thought. It's even more astonishing than we ever imagined. Stay with us as we dive deeper into the groundbreaking genetic discoveries that might forever change how we see Jewish history. Because sometimes, history is not what we thought. It's even more fascinating than we ever imagined. Among the many theories that sought to explain the origins of the Ashkenazi Jews, none has been as controversial as the Khazar hypothesis. This theory suggests that a significant portion of Ashkenazi Jews did not descend from the Israelites of ancient Israel, but rather from a Turkic people known as the Khazars, who allegedly converted to Judaism during the early medieval period. The Khazars were a powerful empire that ruled over a vast region stretching from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. They were known for their strategic location along the Silk Road, controlling trade routes between Europe and Asia. According to historical accounts, sometime between the 8th and 10th centuries, the Khazar elite, perhaps even the entire nation, converted to Judaism. But did this conversion contribute to the Ashkenazi Jewish gene pool? Proponents of the Khazar hypothesis argue that when the Khazar Empire fell, its Jewish population migrated westward into Eastern Europe, where they blended with local Jewish communities. This, they claim, explains the rapid expansion of the Ashkenazi population in medieval Europe. The idea has been used by some to question the Ashkenazi Jews' connection to Israel, suggesting that their ancestors never set foot in the Holy Land. But genetic research tells a different story. Studies have shown that while Ashkenazi Jews do possess some genetic diversity, their Y chromosomal lineage is overwhelmingly of Middle Eastern origin. This suggests that their paternal ancestors did, in fact, come from Israel. The maternal lineage, as mentioned earlier, has strong European influences, but there is little genetic evidence to support a large-scale Khazar ancestry. Despite the lack of conclusive genetic proof, the Khazar theory remains a subject of debate. Some scholars argue that even if a small portion of Ashkenazi Jews have Khazar ancestry, it does not negate their deep historical and cultural ties to Israel. Others believe the theory has been politically weaponized to delegitimize Jewish claims to their ancestral homeland. At its core, the story of the Ashkenazi Jews is not just about genetics. It is about identity, faith, and a history that has survived against all odds. Whether their ancestors came from Israel, Europe, or beyond, the Ashkenazi Jews have always seen Israel as their spiritual and historical homeland. It is the land they prayed for, the land they longed for, and the land they returned to after centuries of exile. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of Jewish history, one thing remains clear. The bond between the Jewish people and Israel is unshakable. Science may provide new insights, but the essence of identity is built on much more than DNA. Stay with us as we explore further revelations that could reshape our understanding of history forever. The revelation of genetic evidence tracing the ancestry of the Ashkenazi Jews is more than a scientific discovery. It is a story that shakes the foundations of biblical and historical narratives. For centuries, the Jewish identity has been deeply intertwined with the land of Israel. And now, science offers a new lens to examine the past. But does this revelation strengthen or challenge the ancient stories? What does this mean for the Jewish people, their faith, and their historical connection to the Promised Land? For millennia, the Jewish people have prayed for Israel, longed for its soil, and held fast to their identity as its descendants. Their journey, marked by exile, persecution, and resilience, has always led back to one truth: Israel is their ancestral home. The findings from genetic studies, despite their complexities, reinforce this truth. The Y chromosomal evidence, which follows the male lineage, strongly links the Ashkenazi Jews to the Middle East, confirming their deep-rooted connection to Israel. This genetic link is more than just data. It is the living proof of an unbroken chain stretching back to ancient times. The same blood that flowed through the veins of biblical patriarchs courses through the veins of their descendants today. When the Israelites wandered the deserts, when King David ruled from Jerusalem, when the temple stood in all its glory, these were not just stories. They were moments in the lives of real ancestors, whose legacy continues in the Jewish people today. Yet, the discovery of European maternal ancestry introduces a new dimension. It suggests that while Jewish men carried their Israelite heritage into foreign lands, they also built families with local women who embraced their faith. These women, despite their European origins, chose to become part of the Jewish nation. This does not weaken the Jewish connection to Israel. Rather, it speaks to the strength of their identity. Even as they lived in distant lands, their faith remained intact, and their longing for Israel never wavered. with every scientific discovery comes the challenge of interpretation. Some may argue that the presence of European ancestry complicates the biblical story of a unified Israelite people. But history has always been more intricate than a single narrative. The Bible itself speaks of outsiders joining Israel, of converts becoming part of the chosen people. Ruth, a Moabite woman, became the great-grandmother of King David. Rahab, a Canaanite, played a role in the survival of the Israelite spies. These stories remind us that Jewish identity has never been solely about blood. It has always been about faith, covenant, and belonging. The genetic discoveries do not contradict the biblical account. Rather, they add layers to it. They show how the Jewish people have survived by adapting, by welcoming those who joined them in exile, and by maintaining an unbreakable bond with their ancestral land. Israel remains at the heart of Jewish history, not just as a place, but as a promise. From a theological perspective, these findings raise profound questions. Could this mixture of ancestry be part of a divine plan? The Jewish people have endured slavery, exile, and diaspora, yet they have always remained distinct. Despite intermarriage and conversion, their identity has remained intact. The return of the Jewish people to Israel in modern times is seen by many as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Could it be that the very blending of cultures and genetics was always meant to be part of their journey? Religious scholars argue that the Jewish nation has never been defined purely by genetics. The Torah emphasizes faith, law, and tradition over lineage alone. In Deuteronomy, Moses speaks to the Israelites, saying, "Not because you were more numerous than any people did the Lord set his love upon you and choose you, for you were the fewest of all peoples." This suggests that Jewish identity was always about something greater than numbers or genetic purity. It was about purpose. The prophet Isaiah spoke of a time when Israel would be a light unto the nations. Could it be that the inclusion of European ancestry is part of this grand design? That through their historical journey, the Jewish people have carried their faith into different lands, influencing and being influenced while still remaining connected to their spiritual homeland? Today, these findings have both cultural and political implications. Some may attempt to use genetic discoveries to challenge the Jewish claim to Israel, arguing that the Ashkenazi Jews are not pure Israelites. But history, faith, and genetics tell a different story. The Jewish people have never needed purity to prove their connection to the land. Their history is written in the ruin. The revelation of genetic evidence linking Ashkenazi Jews to both Middle Eastern and European ancestry sent shockwaves through academic, religious, and political circles. The debate was not just about science, it was about identity, history, and the very foundations of Jewish heritage. As soon as the findings were published, reactions poured in from across the globe. Some saw it as undeniable proof of Israel's historical legitimacy, while others attempted to twist the discovery to fit their own narratives. But one thing was certain. This was no ordinary revelation. It was a discovery that would challenge, affirm, and reshape perspectives for years to come. Among scholars, the reaction was swift and divided. Many geneticists and historians saw the findings as groundbreaking, solid scientific confirmation of what had long been believed. The Y chromosomal evidence, which strongly ties Ashkenazi Jews to ancient Israelites, was hailed as irrefutable. The connection to the Levant, the region where Israel is located, was undeniable. This was not just speculation or historical theory. This was genetic proof, written in the very essence of human biology. However, not everyone was satisfied. Some historians pointed to the European maternal ancestry as a sign that Jewish lineage was more complex than previously thought. They raised questions. If Jewish men migrated from Israel and took European wives, does this change the way we understand Jewish identity? Does it challenge the biblical notion of a people who remained genetically distinct through the ages? Others countered that Jewish identity has never been purely about blood. It has always been about faith, tradition, and shared history. The Torah itself speaks of outsiders joining the nation of Israel, reinforcing the idea that Jewish continuity is about more than just DNA. Religious scholars and rabbis had their own perspectives. For many within the Jewish community, the findings were not a challenge, but a validation. The genetic link to Israel reinforced their belief that Jewish history had been preserved despite centuries of exile. It was further proof that the Jewish people had not lost their connection to the land God had promised them. Yet, among ultra-Orthodox circles, there were hesitations. Some feared that too much emphasis on genetics could undermine the religious definition of Jewish identity, which is based on maternal descent and conversion according to Jewish law. If science now showed European maternal ancestry, would it be used to question Jewishness? Rabbis reminded their communities that Jewish identity is determined by religious tradition, not just by DNA. In contrast, Messianic Jewish groups and some Christian theologians saw the findings as an opportunity to discuss biblical prophecy. Many referenced Ezekiel's vision of the dry bones coming back to life, interpreting the genetic evidence as a symbol of the Jewish people's return to their homeland. To them, the science was merely confirming what had already been foretold, that the scattered remnants of Israel would one day return and be restored. Beyond academia and religion, the findings had immediate political ramifications. Israel has always been at the heart of global debates, and these discoveries added fuel to an already intense discussion. Supporters of Israel saw the genetic evidence as further justification for the Jewish claim to the land. It was proof, they argued, that modern Jews were not outsiders or colonial settlers, but the descendants of the very people who built Jerusalem, worshipped at the temple, and called Israel their home for thousands of years. On the other hand, some critics of Israel seized upon the European ancestry aspect to cast doubt. They twisted the findings, arguing that if Ashkenazi Jews had European maternal lineage, it somehow weakened their historical connection to the land. This argument ignored the overwhelming evidence of paternal lineage tracing back to ancient Israel. But in the world of political rhetoric, facts often take a back seat to narratives. Israeli leaders and historians responded swiftly. They pointed out that Jewish history is not just about genetics. It is about faith, tradition, and undeniable historical presence. The Jewish people did not simply vanish after the Roman exile. They endured, they migrated, and they carried Israel in their prayers, their texts, and their very way of life. No genetic study could erase the centuries of longing for Jerusalem, the undeniable archaeological evidence, or the unbroken chain of Jewish existence in the land. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered truths that challenge conventional narratives. The genetic research on Ashkenazi Jews does more than just trace ancestry. It reaffirms a historical connection to Israel that has persisted through millennia. The evidence speaks loudly. The Jewish people are not merely a scattered group that reassembled in modern times. They are an ancient nation with roots deeply embedded in the land of Israel. This is not just history. It is living proof of identity, resilience, and destiny. The discoveries have sparked debates, from academia to religious circles, from political arenas to personal reflections. Some see this as undeniable validation of Israel's historical claim, while others attempt to distort the facts to fit their own agendas. But the reality remains unchanged. Science, history, and faith converge to tell a single, undeniable story. The Jewish people and Israel are inseparable. As we stand at the crossroads of history and science, we must ask ourselves, what else is hidden in the depths of our past, waiting to be uncovered? What other truths have been overlooked, ignored, or suppressed? This research reminds us that history is not just what we are told. It is what we seek, what we question, and what we dare to discover. It is up to us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep learning. The past is not just a story. It is a guide to the future. If this revelation has sparked your curiosity, imagine what else is out there, waiting to be explored. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We bring you deep, thought-provoking explorations of history that challenge mainstream narratives. Like this video, Share it with others who need to see the truth. And watch till the end, because every piece of knowledge brings us closer to understanding the world as it truly is. History is more than just dates and names. It is a puzzle, and together we are putting the pieces back where they belong. See you in the next video.